Hey everybody, it's Melanie with Lost and Found. Happy 2023, Happy New Year. It's been a little while since I've been with you guys. Took a little bit of a break for Christmas, just to spend some time with my family, to be out of town, do a little traveling. But I'm back, I'm ready to focus on 2023, and we're starting this year. Our very first video is for you antique booth dealers. I've had some requests for some more help with booth businesses, so we're gonna talk about that today. So if you're not a Lost and Found subscriber, before I get going, I do wanna ask you to click that button, subscribe, join our channel, join this community. I do try and post regularly videos that are aimed towards antique booth owners, or really anybody that's trying to do a small creative business, whether that's an Etsy shop, you're selling online, maybe you have a painted furniture business. Those are all things that I've been doing for coming up 11 years now. February will be 11 years. And I'm trying to share with you guys here on YouTube just the things that I've learned, the things that have worked for me, and have gotten a really good positive response from a lot of you that you've learned a lot. So that's awesome. If I can be of help, I'm going to continue to share and be helpful. So hit that button, subscribe, join us if you want to stay informed when I do more videos like this. All right, so today's video, we're going to talk about how to diagnose and fix a problem in your antique booth business. So I am experiencing a problem right now in my antique booth business, and I'm going to walk you guys through kind of how I'm looking at this and what I'm going to do, in hopes that it will help you as you identify your business and maybe you see problems, and just how do you think about that as a business owner? What are the ways that you can really evaluate what you're doing and kind of step back and not get emotional about it, not get kind of overreactive about it, but instead evaluate it in a way where you can really come up with a plan to fix it and succeed and to move your business forward. So a lot of what I see over the years in helping other small business owners is we can get emotional about our business really quick. We can also get really vague about it. And I hear, I'm just not selling enough in my booth, or my booth just isn't doing well, or people just don't like what I have, or a number of things. These kind of vague, emotional, like it's just not good enough. But what we really need to do is we've got to dial in. We have to take a step back. We have to kind of detach ourselves, because these businesses are extensions of us, right? They're extensions of our creative personalities. And so it can feel really personal when something isn't working. It can feel really personal when a customer isn't responding well, or when we're not selling a product that we thought we could sell. But it doesn't have to be. It doesn't need to be. It's just business. So we need to take a step back, to detach ourselves personally, and instead of kind of having these just vague, it's just not working, we've got to get a lot more specific so we can actually address the problem and fix the problem. Okay, so the first step that I want you to take, instead of just saying, my booth isn't going well, or I'm not getting the sales I want you first to dial down and really identify the specific thing in your business that is not producing how you want it to produce. Because most likely, it's not everything in your booth that isn't doing well. There are probably some things that are doing very well. Most likely, it's a certain product, a certain part of your booth, a certain thing that you've tried to sell. It's likely not everything. It's probably more certain areas, and that's what we need to pinpoint. Okay, so here's an example for me, what I'm going through right now. As I sat down and looked through my antique booth and my sales over the course of last year, I noticed it was very clear and very evident as I was tracking my sales that the bulk of my sales are coming from the DIY products that I sell in my booth, specifically my furniture paint and the brushes and things that go along with that. The other areas of my booth are the areas that aren't doing super well. So I also sell redesign with Prima transfers in my booth, and I have some painted furniture, not a lot because I don't have a ton of room, and I have some vintage decor. As I'm looking at my booth and I'm thinking, my sales, I wish they were a little better. My paint is doing great. That's really not the problem. The problem is these other parts of my booth, the other areas of my inventory. That's where I'm seeing the underperformance. So it's not that everything is going bad. It's that these things over here that I've dedicated square footage and floor space to are not producing at near the same rate that this product over here is producing. You don't want all your eggs in one basket, right? You want to have the different things that you're doing all be producing for you. They're not all gonna go gangbusters, but you wanna diversify your income, you wanna diversify your revenue streams, and you wanna diversify what's working for you in your booth. So this year, I wanna fix that I'm paying square footage for things that aren't selling. They're taking too long. They're sitting there. My vintage stuff is sitting too long, and my redesign transfers are not selling. So that is the example. That's how I'm getting specific. When I look at my booth, that's how I'm getting specific. That's number one. I want you to drill down. I want you to get specific. What is it that is not working specifically? For me, it's transfers and it's my vintage items. Okay, so an easy thing that you can do and that you need to start doing is you need to categorize what the different products are in your booth. And you can get as specific about this as you want or as general. If you're just starting, try and keep it general. But maybe you sell furniture, maybe you sell collectibles, and then maybe you sell things that would qualify as gifts. Maybe you want to break it down a little bit more. Maybe you just do kind of collectibles. And so then maybe you want to break it down into your brass, your silver plate, your ceramic pieces, and maybe you sell a lot of mirrors or something. I don't know. Look at whatever is kind of in your inventory and put it into some categories. And that's going to help you figure out the specific areas that aren't performing. Because again, it's probably not everything that's not performing. It's probably these one specific areas. Maybe you're selling mirrors like crazy, but you've got all this silver plate and you can't sell that. Or maybe your painted furniture is selling well, but it's your giftware that isn't moving, or vice versa, right? So don't be general and just, well, my booth isn't making enough money. My sales aren't good. What sales aren't good? What products is it that aren't working for you? Which part of your booth is it specifically that isn't working for you? Let's get real specific. Let's dial down and let's find the exact things that aren't working. Okay, step number 2. Next is I want you to be honest about the areas where you may be lacking in managing those products. Okay, so I realize that this is a little tough because it requires us to admit where we may not be doing a very good job. And it's easier to just kind of blame the things out there, right? But that is so not helpful for your business. And that is what I have heard so much over the past like 8 to 10 months is just, I just kind of want to blame the economy. And I actually have a whole video about that, about the state of the economy right now and our booths and can your booths, survive. If you want to watch that, you can check it out up here. I'll link it up here. I'll also link it in the video description. I'm not saying that outside factors like, a downturn in the economy, or maybe your mall is in a not great area, maybe you're tucked back in a corner of the mall and you're by the bathrooms and it gets stinky and nobody wants to go back there. Yes, those things that are out of your control, they can affect your sales. Of course they can. But it's like when we have a problem, we just jump to those things. We just jump to blaming it on these things out here. And that doesn't help you come up with a solution because these things out here, you can't change. Maybe you can move to a different spot in the mall, eventually if you're by the stinky bathroom. But like right now, you can't do that necessarily. We can't change the economy. There's just certain things that we don't have any control over. You can't move from a small town to a big town, a big city where there's a higher spending, population. Like you can't do that. You are where you are. You have to operate your business within reality. So instead of just jumping straight to the things that we can't control, you have to get honest about what you are doing that isn't being done well enough, because there are things probably that you could be doing better to fix those problems that you're seeing with your sales. Okay, so again, let's go back to me and my booth. Here is my area in my booth where I sell Redesign with Prima transfers. If I'm gonna be really honest with myself, I'm gonna look at this area of my booth and it stinks. It's not done well. It's not merchandised well. Like if people walk in and if they don't already know what redesign transfers are, there's nothing showing them what they are. Like there's a sign, but that's it. I don't have anything explaining how to use them. I don't have any real examples of them on anything. I am not doing a good job with that display. I'm not surprised that they're not selling. I'm really not. I stand in my booth and I watch people walk over there and look at them. And if I'm in there when that happens, I always ask, are you familiar with this product? And they're like, no, I've never heard of it. And then they look at it and they can't figure out what to do with it, okay? So whose problem is that? That's my problem. I haven't done a good job selling those items. I haven't done a good job creating a display that provides information. I haven't done a good job making them look appealing. Like it's a boring display that is lacking information. That's all 100% my fault. Let's go over here to my vintage items that aren't selling. Again, I'm gonna be really honest here. This year, I've been so busy with YouTube, with shipping orders online, with just like life, like my kids and the ages that they are, and trying to get a kid to start driving and get a job, and we've got kids in band. Like I haven't maintained this inventory very well. I haven't been rearranging it often. I've kind of been putting the leftovers up there, like the stuff that doesn't sell online, the random stuff kind of gets stuck in my booth. I'm not creating very compelling displays. I'm not giving it a lot of attention. I just kind of set some stuff in there. It looks okay, but it doesn't look great. So if I was a customer and I kept walking through and seeing the same things over and over that I'm not really refreshing, I'm not really redoing, I'm not buying out and picking and buying more. If I do, I usually sell that stuff online again. Then I would eventually lose interest in looking in that too. So again, like those are areas where I'm kind of failing in that section of my booth. Okay, so as you're evaluating the things in your booth that aren't selling and you're going through the step of trying to be honest about what you're not doing, it usually comes down to two things: display and marketing. And that's kind of what I just shared with you guys. Your display may be lacking, especially if you're trying to sell informational or DIY products that people have to learn how to use, and you're not explaining to them how to use them in your display, then that's a big reason probably why some of it isn't selling. Also, just a display that, is messy, unorganized. You're not showing people how to use the items that you find to decorate in their home. We've talked about display in a lot of other videos, so I'm not gonna dive really down into it again right now. I'll link some videos where we talk more about display. In case you're new here and you haven't catched those, I'll put those and you can watch them. But it's your job to do a really good display for your items. It's your job to make it look compelling. It's your job to make it look clean and inviting, not overcrowded. It's your job to show people how they can take this cool thing that you bought and take it home and use it in your house. And so if you're not doing a great job on your display, that could be a reason why you're not seeing the sales that you want to see. And then the second thing that usually we're kind of lacking in is our marketing. And that is the honest truth again for me in my two areas of this booth space. I had a brick and mortar store when I first moved here for 2 years, and I did a ton of marketing through my social media and through email. I had an email list to people that were shopping at my local store. And when I closed that local store, I still have that email list and I still have my social media, but I haven't done much with it directed towards the booth. I don't think I've emailed my local store people since I've been in my booth. I don't think I have, which is really bad of me. That's not great marketing. Like, I have a way to connect with these local shoppers. And yes, I don't have my store anymore, but I still have a place where they can shop. So I still could be emailing them and letting them know of what I have in my booth, of what specials I'm running in my booth, of, that I've got these new transfers in, or that here's some new items that I put in my vintage decor. Like, I could be marketing my stuff better. I have a local customer base. I'm not regularly telling them what's in my booth. And then again, on my social media, most of my social media gets directed to my online customers. But the fact is that, again, I'm just not promoting shopping in my booth a lot. So the people that are coming and buying paint from me are my loyal paint customers who know it's there. I don't really have to market to them. If I want people to shop with me at my booth for the transfers and for my vintage decor, I need to start talking more about that. I've got to start telling people that it's there. We really think that if we just put stuff in a booth, people are just going to show up. And you're going to get a little bit of that, but you're not going to get what you need to have a thriving business. You have to be in charge of your marketing. So the areas in your booth that aren't selling well, the things that you're not moving quickly, are you talking about them a lot? Are you promoting them? Are you letting people know, hey, come here, I've got this, shop with me here? Are you advertising those things? Are you marketing them well also in your booth through your display? Again, get really honest about what you can do better. Okay, one more thing before we move on to step number 3. Please don't just think that if you just cut your price on stuff, well, it's not selling, I'm just gonna put it on sale, that's the answer. Y'all, that's not the answer. Your price needs to be something you think about down here. The first thing you need to do is you need to think about your display, then you need to think about your marketing, and you need to tweak those things before you ever even consider dropping your price. And what most booth owners do is they just slap up a sale sign and mark stuff down and think that's the answer to move stuff that isn't selling. But y'all, that's not a sustainable long-term business plan. You can't do that long-term. You can do that to get yourself out of a jam here and there, but you can't just keep selling stuff for less than what you really need to sell it and have a thriving business, okay? Yes, at some point you might need to cut your prices, but that doesn't need to be your first answer. Okay, the third thing, after you've identified the specific problem, after you've been honest about what you're not doing well, is I want you to put together a realistic plan of what you can do better. So maybe it needs to be fixing your display, maybe it needs to be marketing better. You've got to come up with what that is based upon the areas where you're not doing well. So here's my plan for my booth. I am going to put specifically in my redesign area, I'm going to create some examples. I'm going to have some things up there that I've put transfers on so people can see what they are. I also am going to film some quick little how-to videos, and I'm going to make a sheet where there's a little QR code, and it's going to say, want to know how to learn this, want to know how to use these, scan this QR code, watch this 2-minute video. And I'm going to make that and put it on a frame, stick it right there next to the transfers. I'm not there to teach people how to use them, but I can provide some informational content when they're there in my booth space. So I'm going to do better with my display, and I'm going to do better with my marketing and my instructions to people that are there. Now, with my vintage decor, honestly, here's where I say you want to make a realistic plan. Realistically, I don't have the time to give it a lot more attention than what I'm giving it right now. I really don't. So I could say that, I want to go picking 3 times a week and just go gangbusters in that, but that's just not realistic for me. A realistic plan is that I'm going to try once a month to redo that area a little bit more. I don't know that I don't think right now I can get that where I want to get it. But I can do a little bit better. I am also going to re-engage my local email list, and I'm going to let some of those people know. Here's where you can find me. Remember, you used to shop with me. Here I am. And when I put new stuff in my booth, I'm going to let them know, and I'm going to toss that out there. So I say a realistic plan because, again, often as small business owners, we don't really want to live in reality. It's like we want to come up with these, well, if everything was perfect, this is what I would do with my business. But, life isn't perfect. We've got other things that we have going on. So you may not be able to, a solution may be that you move to a new space in the mall, but that may not be a realistic option for you right now. There may not be a new space for you to move into, right? A realistic option, or you may say, well, I need to paint 5 more pieces of furniture a month and really get that painted furniture business going. But can you realistically produce that? Do you have the time to do that? Do you have the manpower to do that? Like, it doesn't help to put a plan in place that you can't actually pull off. So you got to be honest with yourself about, what you're not doing well. And then you also have to be honest with yourself about the realistic answers that you can provide, okay? It doesn't have to be perfect. What it needs to be is you need to make progress. And because, sometimes we put the perfect solution out there, and then very rarely we can't hit the perfect solution. And so then we just give up, okay? That doesn't help you in your business. I can't get the vintage decor section of my booth perfect right now. I just can't. I have to cut some other things out in order to do that. I can't get it perfect. I can make some progress. I can do a little bit better. So when you're putting together your plan, focus on making progress. Realistically, what can you change to try and move the needle a little bit and do a little bit better in those areas where you were lacking? Okay, step number 4, the last thing is, after you've put into place your realistic steps, give it 5-6 months, some chunk of time, maybe a year, and then I want you to reevaluate. Did anything help? Did it change? Were you able to boost your sales in these areas? If not, then that may be the time when you remove that product line, or you downsize to a smaller booth, or you move to a different location, okay? Because again, like I said earlier in the video, there are things that can affect your sales and your booth business that are out of your control. So maybe you did everything that's in your control and it's still not quite working. It's still not quite where you need it to be. That means that some of the things that are out of your control, they're affecting you more than what they should be. And again, you can't change that. So it's okay. It's okay to identify, hey, I've done everything that I can and this just isn't working, and to let something go. That's completely okay to do. What I don't want you to do is just, again, at the start go, well, my booth, it's just not working. But you never get specific about what the problem is. You never get specific about what you're not doing. You just blame it on the out there, and you just put up the sale sign and just cut out. And, it's like you never take the time to try. Like, you have to put in the work of trying first and seeing. And y'all, I've had things that haven't worked. I've had locations that I've had to close. I've had product lines that I've had to stop selling. I've stopped selling, I think, 2 other paint lines and 1 other DIY product line that I tried everything I knew how to try, and I still couldn't sell it. And so at that point, I was like, okay, it's time for me to let this go. And that's okay. That's not failure. That's still progress. But I had to put in the work first. After your season that you decide, whether it's 6 months, whether it's a year, and you work through your steps that you've put through, then you can say, okay, maybe I need to let this go. So that's what I'm going to be doing with my booth this year. I'm going to do the things that I said I was going to do with my transfers. I'm going to put a little bit more effort into my vintage decor, and I'm going to give it about 6 months, and I'm going to see what happens. I'm going to see if I can boost the sales in those 2 areas. And if I can't, then I'll reevaluate again. And maybe I'll take out my vintage decor and expand my paint at that point. Maybe I'll take out the vintage decor and I'll put some more painted furniture in there. I don't know. But I'm going to try first. I'm going to try what I know how to try first, and then I'll stop and see, reevaluate, and make further kind of more drastic changes at that point if I need to. Okay, so as usual, I'm like watching the clock count as I'm filming this, and it's longer than I intended this video to be. I'm sorry, y'all. I know that I kind of talk, but sometimes it takes me a little bit of talking to kind of get, what's in my head out here to you. But I hope that this has been helpful to you. I hope that maybe watching me think and evaluate my booth has given you the perspective on the steps that you can take yourself. So as always, a way that you can support Lost and Found and help support my YouTube channel, if you found this video helpful, is to click the little super thanks button. You can leave our channel a tip, I think as little as $1.99. Always really appreciate that. That's a way, since I don't have my Booth Seller Bootcamp course anymore, that is a way that you can support us and say, hey, I appreciate what you're doing for me, Melanie. This video was super helpful. Just leave us a little super thanks tip. And then let me know in the comments if you've got some more questions, if you've got some things in your booth that, you know, you're really needing some help with. I do also offer a 45-minute personal coaching session. I've got a lot of questions from people about when am I opening boot camp again? I have closed the Booth Seller Bootcamp course. So that course is closed. It's not available anymore. But I do still offer these private one-on-ones where we hop on Zoom or a FaceTime and we dig through your booth, what you're doing, and I try and help you come up with a plan to get where you want to be. And so those are available in my online store. I'll have the link for that in the video description. If that's something that you feel like it would be helpful, then that is something that we offer. Okay, so I've got some work to do on my booth, and probably you do too. So I hope maybe it was helpful hearing that like everything just doesn't always work perfect for me. You know, it may look like that, but it doesn't. I've got things that don't work. I've got things that I don't do a good job at, that I have to fix, that I have to do better, things that I have to change. Y'all, that's just business. So let's try to not get so personally attached to it and not get so just demoralized and discouraged when something isn't working. Detach yourself a little bit. Let's get objective about it. Let's put together a plan, because you are capable. You are capable of fixing your business, of thinking like a business owner, and of making this work for you. I really think that you are. So y'all are amazing. I appreciate you spending time with me today. I hope to see you guys again soon. Share this video with your friends if you thought it was helpful. Thanks. Bye-bye.